It is midday. The South Africa update coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa on Channel Africa from an African perspective. I'm Lulu Gaboo. I'm in studio with Onele Nzinzi, Msibudi Makura and Chanduko Ligege. Coming up in this hour. Vote counting underway in Cameroon following yesterday's presidential election, and the living Israeli hostages are heading back to family and friends. But first up, the news with Onele Nzinzi and our sports headlines with Msibudi Makura.
SABC News. The African perspective.
Thank you, Lulu, and greetings to our listeners. South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa has sent his condolences to the nations of Zimbabwe and Malawi who have lost their compatriots in a bus crash which took place near Louis Trichardt in the Limpopo province yesterday. In a statement, the president says the incident is a tragedy both for South Africa and these sister states. A reported 42 travelers died in the incident on the N1 on Sunday afternoon while they were en route to their home countries from Gqeberha in the Eastern Cape province. Ramaphosa says his thoughts and those of the country are with the families, friends and colleagues of the deceased, while he wished dozens of injured persons a full and speedy recovery. Madagascar President Andry Rajoelina is expected to address the nation this evening. This after officers supporting youth-led protests said they were in control of the African Islands paramilitary gendarmerie. Rajoelina had warned yesterday of an attempted power grab as soldiers increasingly aligned themselves with demonstrators in a movement that has shaken the country since protests began on the 25th of September. His whereabouts remain unclear. The Madlanga Commission in South Africa, which is looking into criminality, corruption and political interference in the criminal justice system, has adjourned following an opposition application to host proceedings in camera. The opposition application was brought by media companies Daily Maverick and Media 24. During last week's scheduled adjournment, the Madlanga Commission announced that it would bring an application before the inquiry to host the proceedings in camera due to the sensitivity of the evidence. Evidence leader Advocate Matthew Chaskalson, Senior Counsel, explains.
The commissioners are in agreement with that. We could answer it by 5 today. And together with our answer, we would file any written argument that we thought might assist the Commission, and we've asked Mr. du Plessis if his team would similarly file any written argument by 5.
The United Democratic Movement Party in South Africa has expressed concern over the surge in kidnappings across the country. In the latest incident, officers in Pretoria on Saturday stopped a suspicious vehicle and freed a bound and hooded man from the back seat. The party said that the concern also stems from the kidnapping of its deputy president, Ngabayomzi Kankwa, last week. UDM's acting secretary general, Zandile Phiri.
The kidnapping of our deputy president, Ngabayomzi Kankwa, it was a very deeply personal and painful experience for the UDM. That incident brought home a simple but frightening truth. Crime in South Africa has become indiscriminate. If a sitting member of the parliament can be taken off the street in that way, then no one is safe. The key lesson we learned as the UDM is that even ordinary public spaces are no longer safe. People are being targeted in broad daylight, often in places they know and trust.
Lastly, the government of the Philippines has accused the Chinese Coast Guard of deliberately ramming a Filipino ship during a confrontation in the South China Sea. China claims almost all of the South China Sea as its territorial waters, but this claim has been rejected by an international tribunal. The BBC's Jonathan Head.
Video released by the Philippines government shows a much larger Chinese Coast Guard ship moving closely at speed behind a Filipino vessel and then striking its stern. Earlier, the Chinese ship had fired water cannon at the Filipinos, who China says had illegally entered its waters. The collision occurred close to the tiny island of Pagasa, which has been occupied by the Philippines since the 1970s. The three Filipino ships had gone there to support a small fishing community, which complains of routine harassment by the large flotilla of Chinese ships, which is stationed close to the island.
For any news stories you'd like to share with us, please send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us at +27 11 714 4459. Channel Africa News. I'm Onele Nsinsi.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
And coming up in your sports news, the Sawa Morocco qualify for the semi-finals of the FIFA Under-20 World Cup, while South Africa bowl first against Bangladesh in their match at the ODI Women's Cricket World Cup. Details coming up at 12:30.
Africa Update, your daily dose of African insights with Lulu Gaboo on Channel Africa.
It is 12:06 Central African time, and we're coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa. Well, thank you to Onele Nzinzi with our news update and Msibudi Makura with our sports headlines. We are coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa on DSTV's audio bouquet channel 802, an OpenView channel 628, and on www.channelafrica.co.za, as well as on the SABC Plus app, available on the Apple and Google Play stores. Join us in conversation on our social media platforms. That's on X, Instagram, and subscribe on YouTube at Channel Africa 1. On Facebook at Channel Africa. You can also send us your comments and voice notes to +2763 at 406-9126 hashtag Africa Update, and let us know which country you're in. And if you have any stories that you'd like us to highlight or to focus on, send us an email. It is newsroom@channelafrica.co.za, or give us a call on +27 11 714 4459.
Africa Update with Lulu Gaboo, 12 to 1 p.m. Central African Time.
Well, today on hashtag Africa Update Us, we focus on Madagascar's President Andry Rajoelina, who is expected to address the nation on Monday evening. His office announced on Facebook after officers supporting youth-led protests said they were in control of the African islands' paramilitary soldiers. Now, our question to you today is: what is your view on the current political situation in Madagascar? Share your thoughts and your views on all our social media platforms. That's on X, Instagram at Channel Africa 1, on Facebook at Channel Africa. You can also send us your comments and voice notes to +2763 at 406-9126 hashtag Africa Update Us.
Africa Update, Channel Africa.
It is 12:08 Central African time, and we're coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa. A vote counting is underway in Cameroon following yesterday's presidential election. Incumbent Paul Biya is widely expected to extend his 43-year grip on power. Biya is the world's oldest ruler at 92. His opponents include 76-year-old Issa Chiroma, a former government spokesperson. Head of our French desk, Pamela Cuomo, is in Cameroon and now joins us on the line. Pam, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us on Africa Update.
Good afternoon, Lulu.
Now, what is coming out of Cameroon at the moment with vote counting underway, and clearly there should be some speculation on the ground?
Yes, Lulu. Vote counting is still underway. At least four of the 10 provinces have been taken care of.
All right, Pam, I hope you can hear me. Your connection is not great. We keep missing out 99% of what you're saying.
But
all right, we're going to ask Tracy to try and get you back on a better connection, and hopefully we'll be able to just get some answers and just a visualization of what is unfolding in Cameroon. It is 9 after 12 Central African time, and I was speaking to Pamela Kuomba, who is the head of our French desk, who is on the ground in Cameroon to give us an update of what is unfolding there.
Tune in and turn up the volume. This is Channel Africa.
Got something to say? Are you passionate about issues that matter?
Do you have a voice that deserves to be heard?
Well, we've got the perfect platform for you. Call in or drop us a WhatsApp on +27 63 406 9126.
And we will call you back.
So you could have your say and be part of the conversation.
30 years of age. I just turned 30 on the 15th of November. So that's who I am,
It's not just talk, it's your chance to air your views.
Share your opinion.
Engage with a community that values your perspective.
Follow us on our social media.
Visit our website at www.channelafrica.co.za
And get ready to share your views
on Channel Africa,
the African perspective.
Get Channel Africa on DSTV Audio Bouquet.
Channel 802.
Africa Update
With Lulu Gaboo.
12 to 1 p.m. Central African Time.
It is 11 after 12 Central African time, and we're coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa. Pamela is back on the line with us. She is on the ground in Cameroon with an update after the election, the voting that took place yesterday. Pamela, you were just telling us exactly what is unfolding and what people are speculating on.
All right. Yes, Lulu. Currently, the vote is still underway. At least 4 of the 10 provinces have been counted, but it is strictly forbidden to speculate on any figures. Yet we can see some of the figures coming out, who's leading and who's not, who's second, who's third. But the law forbids everybody to just speculate. We just have to wait for the ELECAM, which is the Electoral Commission, to give the first preliminary result. But in the city, everything is back to normal. They don't have much expectation. I spoke to few people while just trying to go around and see if they want the candidates to win, especially after what happened yesterday in the feeling here is we just want to run with the person that we've known all our years. So it's a bit difficult to get something else out of people.
Now, Pam, when are the preliminary results expected to be announced, and obviously the final announcement of the final results? And then what happens after that? What's the process then?
So the official results are expected to be announced in the next 2 weeks, and according to the law, the Constitutional Council will now consider anybody who has anything to protest or contest. So they will be called to submit with the proof. And for those who have been already saying that some ballots were rigged, some registers, some voters were not counted, others were duplicated, they will have to come with the proof and the statement from the representative in the bureaus. But while yesterday I was doing some of the bureaus, it was just a pity to see that most of them didn't have any opposition leaders representative. So in case of contestation, I wonder how are they going to contest the results, because they didn't have anybody to sign what they call here PV. It's a kind of statement saying that, yes, indeed, in front of me, this is 100 ballot, 100 votes have been counted and no one to account. So most of, I spoke to one of the representative of opposition leader, Cabral Libi representative, and he was telling me that actually they didn't really plan to protest because they know already the results, even though they can't say who's gonna win now. So for them, it was just a formality to come out and say we don't want to leave the space empty because we still need to get some MPs So let's just participate, but we are not really expecting to win anything.
There've been fears of increasing tensions. What are you seeing on the ground?
So, Lulu, this is basically only in Bamenda, in the Anglophone region, west and center of Cameroon. Here in Yaoundé, everything is back to normal. As I said, people are busy with their daily business, their routine, side hustling, the taxis, everybody is just, and what is maybe a little bit worried is because some of the Anglophone people who are staying here in Yaoundé that I've managed to speak to, they don't want to comment. They just say, we are waiting. We know what we are waiting, and just be ready. And hopefully you will be able to travel to Bamenda to witness what we will do the moment they're going to arise, the moment they're going to announce the final result, because actually this is what we are waiting for. And remember that region, they've been asking for years to be independent. So they claim that they have their own government there, and they are ready to establish their own government. They will not recognize any result coming from that region. And yesterday evening, Joshua Ossi, one of the leaders from that region, and also Issa Bakari, the house was surrounded by police. Just people are saying it's intimidation, but the police is saying it was just for protection. So we are just waiting for the result.
All right, that's Pamela Kuomba, who is the head of our French desk, and she is covering the election in Cameroon. And we will be chatting to her on a regular basis once we know. 2 weeks is not a long time, but not a long time. 16 after 12 Central African time, and we're coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa.
Africa Update with Lulu Gaboo on Channel Africa.
A horrific bus crash in South Africa's N1 near Musina in the Limpopo province resulted in the deaths of more than 40 people. A bus traveling to Zimbabwe allegedly lost control and fell down the mountainside. There are reports that there are still passengers trapped inside the bus. South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa has extended his condolences to the nations of Zimbabwe and Malawi. Our Limpopo Premier, Dr. Bobi Ramuthuba, is visiting the accident scene and will address the media shortly. And to give us an update on what has unfolded and what the expectation of what the Premier will say is Tibali Mauba, the Premier's spokesperson. Tibali, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us on Africa Update.
Well, good afternoon, and good afternoon to you and your listeners.
Now, what is the latest on the bus crash? The reports that there are people allegedly stuck inside the bus, is this true? What have you found on the scene?
Well, what we can confirm to you is that according to the preliminary report, when the Premier arrived at the scene, she was briefed about what actually happened, and all to find that 42 passengers lost their lives on the scene. And when we are to establish what has happened to the rest of the passengers, most of them have been taken to the various hospitals around the Louis Richard area. So that's what is happening right now. The Premier, together with the three MECs, MEC for Health, MEC for Social Development, as well as MEC for Transport and Community Safety, they were all they were all in the scene just to establish what really has transpired on the day.
And do you have the figures with regards to the total number of people who were on the bus?
Well, the number of people that were on the bus, we still establishing, because remember, when buses are departing from where they are coming from, obviously they would have the register, which indicates that they were about 60 people. But also find that when you add the numbers of those people who eventually had to be on the street, you can be able to tell that indeed, yes, this is not what we envisaged to see on the scene, but because the numbers seem to be high, and it seems to be 91 as we speak.
When is the Premier expected to address the media?
The Premier has already briefed the media immediately after visiting the scene, and now the Premier is on the way to Siloam Hospital, that's where she will be able to find out about what has transpired to the people who are there.
Now, Tilibali, there have been calls for an investigation of the crashes that have taken place on the mountain passes. Is this something that is being looked at? I mean, the number of crashes that we've seen and the loss of lives, it seems like on an annual basis, there's a major crash that happens in that region.
So this is quite worrisome because I think that's what the Premier is always saying, because now I think there will be a lot of people who need to account, looking at the fact that, buses cannot be able to be traveling from wherever they are and not being checked thoroughly. And this is what we've been always saying, that we need to check all those things so that at least we don't have to put our people on danger.
Would you know whether the bus driver or the bus drivers survived? Because what they're saying is allegedly they lost control of the bus.
Exactly, that's what the report will be able to show us, because for now we still haven't got the preliminary report, which we want to make sure that we get to understand if ever the drivers, because normally the long trip distance buses, they usually travel with the other couple of drivers, maybe 3 or 2. So in this instance, we are still to establish as to how many were there.
Well, Tilibali, I guess, as you say, a lot still happening on the ground there, and with the Premier's visits to the different hospitals, to obviously see the people that have survived. Any contacts in terms of the Zimbabwe government, the Malawi government? Has there been any communique between with the South African government with regards to this crash where there was a losses of lives? Tilibali, are you still there? All right, so we've lost Tilibali there. That is Tilibali Moaba, the spokesperson for the Limpopo Premier, Dr. Popi Ramathuba, ending that discussion.
We are on Open Views Audio Bouquet. Channel 628.
Hi there. Do you want to elevate your business and give it a voice in South Africa and Africa as a whole? Well, in that case, let Channel Africa make this
A possibility.
Channel Africa is willing to advertise your business for as little as 30,000 rands or $1,719.18. To get access to these great rates, send all requests to mukwenata@SABC. That's MOKOENATA@SABC.
Channel Africa, the African perspective.
We are live at the 14th Oppenheimer Research Conference, the leading platform for natural and environmental science, convened by the Oppenheimer Generations Research and Conservation. It brings together top scientists, policymakers, and conservationists looking to advance solutions to global environmental crises in an ever-changing world. Our Channel Africa is on ground and will be interviewing some of the leading African voices shaping meaningful approaches to some of Africa's most pressing challenges. Stay tuned on Channel Africa as we will be bringing you all that and a lot more.
Your window to the continent and beyond. Africa Update. Only on Channel Africa. Channel Africa. The African perspective.
It is 23 after 12 Central African time, and we're coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa. Madagascar's President Andry Rajoelina is expected to address the nation on Monday evening. His office announced on Facebook after officers supporting youth-led protests said they were in control of the African island's paramilitary soldiers. Yesterday, the Armed Forces Minister recognized a military-backed officer as the new army chief. Now, President Rajoelina has called the move an attempted coup. Meanwhile, South Africa has voiced deep concern over the unrest and is urging all parties to remain calm and respect Madagascar's democratic process. And for more on this, we are joined on the line by Madagascan lawyer and political analyst Toki Ramelison. Toki, good afternoon and thank you for joining us on Africa Update.
and thank you for talking to me again.
Now, Toki, just given that CAPSAT unit played a pivotal role in the 2009 coup that brought President Andre Rajoelina into power, how does their current defection and claim of control over the armed forces reflect on the fragility of military loyalty in Madagascar's political landscape?
Yes, you have said it correctly, Lulu. In 2009, the members of the CAPSAT regiment were the key decisive factor in toppling then President Ravalomanana and putting Andry Rajoelina as transition president in 2009. On such a day, the CAPSAT did not march to the presidential palace like they did in 2009. They rather joined the protesters to march in the streets of Antananarivo to force the gendarmerie to remove the blockades and stop dispersing the crowds. So this move of the CAPSAT today in 2025 is quite different from the 2009 coup.
Now, just with the army, with the armed forces minister now recognizing General Demostheni Pikulas, a military-backed officer, as the new army chief, what are the immediate risks of a full military fracture? And how might loyalist forces respond to the split? Because it seems like history now is repeating itself.
Yes, in a sense, history is repeating itself. But as I said, this time it's a little bit different because you must remember that the Minister of Defense, who yesterday recognized General Pikulas as the new Army Chief of Staff, was appointed 3 days ago by Rajoelina himself. And I guess this time there is a real caution from the side of the armed forces not to make this become an outright coup. I think they are rather taking a step-by-step, almost negotiated approach within the armed forces, but also with the Rajoelina loyalists.
Now, the youth-led Gen Z MADA protests have escalated from demands over power and water shortages to calls for Rajoelina's resignation, now bolstered by CAPSAT support. What factors could sustain or derail this movement, especially amid reports of clashes resulting in the loss of lives and injuries?
Yes, indeed, it is very sad because at least 2 people, if not more, were shot dead on Saturday when the CAPSAT soldiers joined the protesters and the gendarmerie tried to block the protest. So there was an exchange of gunfire, but ultimately the gendarmes, loyalists to Rajoel, withdrew. Today, the protesters can express themselves fully on the legendary, famous 13th of May Plaza in the center of Tana. What can be pivotal today is there are strong rumors that Andry Rajoelina left the country. Unconfirmed reports indicated that the private jet carrying him and his family left for Dubai. So maybe we will know more about his status and location this evening during his address to the nation.
Now, South Africa has expressed concern and has urged restraint. But how may this crisis spill over into the broader Southern Africa region, potentially affecting SADC stability or inspiring similar unrest in neighboring countries?
First of all, Lulu, when Rajoelina was declared as re-elected 2 years ago in 2023, there was a big contingent of SADC electoral observers observing the elections in Madagascar. And I personally happened to warn them, given the controversy about Rajoelina's French nationality, and the legality of his candidacy. I warned the SADC mission that this might result in problems a few years down the line. Unfortunately, we are currently in the situation that I warned them about. What might be feared in the region is that the Gen Z is not a movement led by politicians. I would not go as far as saying that it is a leaderless movement, but it is difficult to talk or to reason with a movement that is not structured, does not have a hierarchy and a commandment. So that is the danger that might spread to not only to the SADC region, but to the other nations in Africa.
Now, just in wrapping up, President Rajoelina has called for dialogue while condemning the events as a coup attempt. In your view, what diplomatic or security measures could international parties facilitate in terms of a peaceful resolution while upholding Madagascar's democratic processes, and also going back to the fact that this is now history repeating itself?
Yes, this is history repeating itself in terms of people protesting in the street and the armed forces joining the people. But what can make a difference this time, Lulu, is that there is a provision in the Malagasy constitution that says if there is a vacuum of power at the top of the executive branch, meaning if the president is there, the president of the Senate, if the president is gone, the president of the Senate is gone, and the prime minister is absent, then the cabinet ministers have the possibility to exercise executive power as a collective body. So that might be the legal option today for Madagascar.
We have run out of time, but I just have to highlight the fact that you're speaking of cabinet ministers who are also acting as cabinet ministers.
That is correct. So the real challenge for Madagascar's constitutional legality today is the vacuum of power.
Well, Toki, we could go on and on, but we have to leave it there for today. Thank you for joining us on Africa Update.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
That's Madagascan lawyer and political analyst Toki Rameluson joining us on the line. Our news headlines up next with Onele Nzinzi.
SABC News. Headlines. The African Perspective.
Thank you, Lulu. Madagascan President Andry Rajoelina is expected to address the nation this evening. His office announced this on Facebook after officers supporting youth-led protests said they were in control of the African islands' paramilitary soldiers. South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa has sent his condolences to the nations of Zimbabwe and Malawi, who have lost 42 travelers in a bus crash which took place near Louis-Trichardt in the Limpopo province yesterday. And Hamas has released the last 20 surviving Israeli hostages under a ceasefire deal, a major step towards ending a 2 years of shattering war in Gaza. Channel Africa News, I'm Onele Nzinzi.
SABC News. Headlines. The African Perspective. Sports on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
And a very good afternoon from the sports desk. I am Musibu Dimakura with the latest sports news at the Sawa. So Morocco had a strong and really made a strong statement, should I say, with a 3-1 victory over the USA in the quarterfinals of the FIFA Under-20 World Cup in Chile yesterday. So from the start, the Americans pressed high and dominated possession, but the Moroccan defense held firm and struck with clinical efficiency when it mattered the most. Now, the Total Energies CAF Under-20 Africa Cup of Nations runner-ups will face France in the semi-finals of this tournament on Wednesday, with a place in the final up for grabs for Morocco, hoping, of course, to continue to raise the Moroccan flag very high at this year's tournament. Well, Zimbabwe national team vice-captain Marshall Monetsi has shared just how Nigerian teammate Tolo Agodare was on his case to produce a good result when they faced Bafana Bafana in the 2026 FIFA World Cup qualifier on Friday. Now, the Zimbabwean Warriors delivered a goalless draw against Bafana Bafana at the Moses Mabhida Stadium on Friday, a result that has thrown Group C wide open going into tomorrow's last games. So, out of the contention for the top spot, the Warriors will play Lesotho in their final game tomorrow in Polokwane in the Limpopo province right here in South Africa. And Monetsi is also interested to see just how the country will be able to do, and which country then between South Africa, Nigeria and Benin will emerge in their final round of matches, and thus qualifying, of course, for the FIFA World Cup next year.
I think even for me, I have a teammate who's playing for Nigeria. So as soon as he saw that South Africa was deducted 3 points, he was on my case in training. So I think it's exciting for African football because I think everybody was watching to see how the group is going to be like. But obviously, South Africa have really been doing well. I think if you check their record since the last AFCON, they've been progressing very well. And I think for us, we are just here to enjoy the game and build up for AFCON. So I think for the other teams, they have the pressure. So I'm also looking forward to see what's going to happen in the last game.
Right, so we'll stay with football news. Morocco will host Africa's 4-team World Cup playoffs next month, which offer the possibility of an additional place at next year's FIFA finals in North America. So all winners of the 9 African qualifying groups advance to the finals in Canada, Mexico, as well as the USA in June of next year. But there is also a route for a potential extra place for one of the best runner-ups. They will play a mini tournament in Morocco in November, this to determine a single team that then goes on to compete in the Intercontinental Playoff in March for a place in the 48-team field at the 2026 FIFA World Cup. The identity of the 4 teams for next month's initial African playoff will only be finalized when the group stages conclude on Tuesday. They will also play 2 semi-finals in Morocco on the 13th of November at venues still to be confirmed, and then the final will be played on the 16th of November. Back home now, Stars of Africa Academy founder as well as coach Farouk Khan has given further details on the 17-year-old Khomotso Madiba's move to Brazilian giants Fluminense. Now, the youth international impressed after spending more than 2 months in South America. This was part of a collaborative initiative between the club as well as the academy. Khan expressed his delight at seeing the under-20 AFCON winner secure such a move, even though he narrowly missed out on Amajita's FIFA World Cup squad.
We were optimistic that he would make it, but in fairness, he's only 17 now. And I think a lot of the players that were in that squad or are in the squad are now currently playing for PSL clubs. So their ages are probably between 19 and 20 years old, with maybe an exception of a few. I think Vilakazi is probably, 18 or 19 now. So I think KG's still got a couple of years, but the coaches invited him to the initial squad before they chose their final squad, and they liked him a lot. But I think we have to be fair to the fact that he's still young.
Right, and finally, in live cricket action, the Bangladesh women's side earlier won the toss and chose to bat first in their Women's World Cup match against the in-form Proteas women's side of South Africa at the Dr. J.S. Rajeshara Reddy ACA VDCA Cricket Stadium earlier. So after disastrous start to this year's tournament for the Proteas with a heavy loss against England, they have managed to bounce back with an impressive win. New Zealand followed by a stunning win over the host side India, and they now head into this clash against Bangladesh looking for 3 wins in a row. Also high in confidence. However, Sima Tumi Sikukune said that the team wasn't getting too far ahead of themselves and that they are very much aware of the challenge that Bangladesh will pose in this match. And just taking a look at the score at the moment, Bangladesh choosing to bat first, 51 runs for the loss of no wickets. That's after 15 overs, facing off with South Africa looking for, of course, a win in this encounter against the Proteas women of South Africa. It's about 39 p.m. Central African Time. That concludes your sports news this hour. For any sports stories you'd like to share with us, our email address is newsroom@channelafrica.co.za. Remember to also give us a call on +27 11714 4459. I'm back with more sports news in the next hour. For Channel Africa Sport, I am Musibudi Makura.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective. Africa in business on Channel Africa.
The United States was very vocal at the beginning of South Africa's G20 presidency, and this is largely due to strained relations with South Africa at the time, that they were not really keen on participating. Where do they stand right now?
The U.S. is planning to take over the presidency of the G20 next year, and our understanding from them is that they intend to continue to do so, and therefore it is quite difficult then to be in a situation where you are not attending deputies' meetings or discussions during our presidency and then to take over the presidency next year. From a finance track perspective, there has been engagement. We've been working on a communique last week and this week here in Zimbabwe. What's important about that is that it's a consensus document, and so all the members in the room have to agree to the language that is used there, and our US colleagues have been part of those discussions and negotiations.
Bringing the African markets into your home. Channel Africa, the African perspective. Business news on Channel Africa, the African perspective.
Good morning. With your business update, I am Chanduko Ligege. Cocoa farmers in Cameroon have expressed their dissatisfaction due to a combination of falling commodity prices, which have caused debt and a bean quality crisis. The harmonization of prices per kilo of cocoa has been problematic since last year, and they are now demanding a solution from the Ministry of Commerce. Cocoa farmers are a vital part of the country's economy, producing around 300,000 metric tons of cocoa annually. Pamela Komba reports from Yaoundé.
About 50 kilometers from Yaoundé, the Cameroonian capital city, and more precisely in Meki, cocoa farmers claim that the price per kilo was set at 4,500 francs CFA, which is about $8 by the Ministry of Trade, but it has been selling well below that.
The South African rand was steady in early trade as investors remained cautious about renewed US-China trade tensions and expectations of Federal Reserve interest rate cuts, with the US shutdown entering its 13th day. The rand traded at 17.3175 against the dollar, about 1% firmer than Friday's close. The dollar index, which measures the greenback's strength against a basket of currencies, traded up 0.1%. African aviation is slowly evolving as new carriers, routes and funding flows emerge. The continent's aviation sector still confronts aging infrastructure, fragmented regulation and affordability barriers. The CEO of Frey Intermedia and aviation analyst Desmond Latham.
We're almost back to 2019 comparative numbers, and we're growing 7% year on year, 24-25. So we're pretty much back to where we were before COVID, yes. We've recovered pretty well. Cargo, of course, continued flying, so that was a stimulus for many of the airlines that were battling with passengers in 2019, 20, and part of 21. But generally speaking, we are back in the saddle, so to speak, and the numbers are very close to where we were.
The Somali Tourism Agency has launched organized tours across Mogadishu and the southwest region, aiming to foster national pride and stimulate local economies. Improved security in the capital has boosted public confidence, making group travel more viable. Tourists visited Nemo Sand, a popular destination for camel rides and outdoor recreation. They say the atmosphere is perfect and it feels like a divine gift to be there. The agency says it currently hosts tours on Thursdays and Fridays with around 150 participants per trip. In other news, world markets found steadier ground after being whipsawed by broadsides in the US-China trade war. While US President Donald Trump had threatened 100% tariffs on China from the 1st of November and Beijing threatened countermeasures, he sounded more conciliatory on Sunday, posting that everything would be fine and the US did not want to hurt China. European shares opened higher, while U.S. stock futures also firmed, although trading was subdued by a holiday in Japan and the US. Let's have a look at financial indicators at this hour. $1 in Nigeria is trading at 1,461 naira. In Botswana, the dollar is 13 pula 11. Kenya, 127 shillings 736. Zambia, 22 kwacha 52. In BRICS countries, $1 in Brazil is at 5 real 19. Russia, 81 rubles 42. In India, 88 rupees 75. China, 71.14. South Africa, 17 rand 48 cents. $1 is 74 pence to the British pound and 85 to the euro. Commodities, gold is at $4,072, platinum at $1,648, and the price of Brent crude oil at $63.84 a barrel. That's all for now. For any business stories you'd like to share with us, please send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za, or you can call us on +27 117144459. For Channel Africa Business, I am Chanduko Ligege.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective. Africa Update with Lulu Gaboo on Channel Africa.
Well, thank you to Chanduko Ligeke with our business news. It is 12:45 Central African time, and we're coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa. US President Donald Trump has addressed Israel's parliament as a fragile Gaza ceasefire he helped to broker enters a fourth day. The 20 living Israeli hostages have been handed over to the Red Cross. We cross now to SABC News correspondent in Tel Aviv. That's Blake Sifton. Blake, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us on Africa Update.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
Now, reports suggest that the living hostages have been handed over to the Red Cross. What more can you tell us about this?
That's right. All 20 living hostages were handed over this morning in two separate groups, both in Gaza City as well as in the south. They were handed over by Hamas to the Red Cross without any kind of ceremony or spectacle. And they were taken then to Israeli forces in Gaza, then to military bases just across the border. There, they reunited with their families. They had initial medical checks, and they've since been taken to medical centers in and around Tel Aviv. And actually, just in the last half hour or so, there were several helicopters carrying them visible in the sky. You could hear the rotors quite loudly, and they actually flew them over Hostage Square, where tens of thousands of people, supporters of the hostages and their families, have been celebrating throughout the day. Now, when it comes to the bodies of the Israeli hostages who are deceased, they have not been released yet. Palestinian prisoners are being released. The 250 so-called security prisoners, these are prisoners serving life sentences, they have begun arriving by bus in Ramallah to large crowds of supporters gathered there to receive them. And 1,700 people detained in Gaza during the war are also being released today. They include people, including women, children, medical workers who were detained when Israeli forces raided hospitals. They have begun arriving in Gaza. They will be taken to Khan Yunis. They will also receive medical treatment, and there will be a large ceremony there with supporters and their families to welcome them.
Now, Blake, another big issue is the aid and the delivery of aid. How's that been going, and what sort of what should we expect?
That's right. So according to the text of the 20-point peace plan that President Trump has put forth, and according to this deal, 600 trucks of aid is meant to enter Gaza every day. That's the amount that the international aid community says is needed to meet the needs of the people. Far less than that has been entering Gaza per day throughout this war. It isn't at that level yet. The UN and other groups have said that they are standing by to flood aid into Gaza. They say more checkpoints need to open, and those checkpoints need to be operated efficiently. However, it is increasing. We saw fuel and cooking gas entering Gaza for the first time yesterday since March. And on Tuesday, we expect that the Rafah crossing between Egypt and Gaza will open to aid convoys, and that's a major conduit for aid. So that will be a very positive step in the right direction. But incredible amounts of work need to be done. The UN says that they are ready to begin rehabilitating the sewage system, water lines, rebuilding bakeries. And they also say that some 500,000 people need urgent medical treatment for the effects of famine.
Blake, just in wrapping up, just the state of the 20 Israeli hostages, the living hostages, what sort of state are they in?
So from what we've seen, they appear to be in reasonably good health. That's also what we've heard. Most of them, we understand, are walking. They look relieved when you see images of them speaking to their families. But of course, they've been in captivity for over 2 years now, and previous hostages released in previous rounds, initially much earlier, within a few months of October 7th, and then of course just this past winter, many of them required lengthy stays in hospital. So we do expect that these hostages will as well.
Well, Blake, we are going to wrap it up here, but hopefully we'll be able to speak to you once there is more in terms of the rebuilding of Gaza and how that will unfold. Thank you for joining us on Africa Update.
Thank you.
As SABC correspondent in Tel Aviv, Blake Sifton, joining us on the line.
Africa Update with Lulu Gaboo, 12 to 1 p.m. Central African Time.
With just over a week to go before South Africa's Grade 12 learners class of 2025 sits for its final National Senior Certificate examinations, learners say the preliminary exams that they wrote last month gave them an idea of what to expect. Now, these exams, commonly referred to as matric, have become an annual event of major public significance for the Southern African nation. Tutungo Beni felt this.
The National Senior Certificate NSC examinations, commonly referred to as Matric in South Africa, has become an annual event of major public significance. It not only signifies the culmination of 12 years of formal schooling, but the NSC examination is a barometer of the health of the education system. Learners sitting for this exam across the country look forward to this time of the year as they prepare to take a new step in their lives as they exit school. The exam also brings a lot of pressure as the learners worry if they studied enough. South African Depression and Anxiety Group's project manager for education, Roshni Pabusida, has called on matriculants to prioritize their mental health as they go through this final examination.
Hello, Matrix. As you prepare for your final exams, it's completely normal to feel stressed or anxious. But remember, your mental health is just as important as your academics. Take care of your mind while you study. Don't ignore your feelings. If you're feeling anxious, sad, or overwhelmed, pause and acknowledge it. Build in your mental health breaks, step outside for fresh air, stretch, or do breathing exercises to calm your body and your mind. Keep a routine, regular sleep, healthy meals, and time to rest all support your concentration and your emotional well-being. Stay connected, talk to friends, family, or educators when the pressure feels too much. Sharing how you feel does lighten the load.
In the past, there have been reports of grade 12 learners who did not get the marks they hoped for, hurting themselves as they felt there's no future beyond this. However, Pabusida says exams are just part of their life and do not determine who they are, while joining the rest of the country in wishing grade 12s well.
Exams are only one part of your life. They do not define who you are. Protecting your mental health is what will carry you through, not only in these exams, but also beyond. If you are struggling, you don't have to go through it alone. SADC is here for you 24/7. Call 0800 567 567, or you can send a free SMS to 31393 and someone will reach out. Take care of yourself, believe in yourself, and know that it's okay to ask for help. We are here. We are rooting for you, Matrix. You've got this.
Some of the learners in grade 12 at Greenside High School north of Johannesburg say they are ready, especially after they got a glimpse of what to expect in the preliminary exam.
I'm feeling confident about the final because my teachers have been pushing me, especially for accounting. Shout out to Mr. Mukhami for pushing me to get to my potential. I'm still getting there. I am going to get there, and I'm also feeling confident because I've seen how I've kind of gotten a glimpse of the finals in the prelims. So, and I think I've predicted how the finals is going to look. So that's how I'm feeling confident.
I'm quite scared, but prelims did show that I'm able to get better marks, and that I worked with my teachers. Today I'm going to get feedback from all my subjects, and I think these 3 days at school are going to definitely better my results for finals.
So I've been preparing with my class and with my teachers for the past 9 months. For the past couple of weeks after prelims, I've been studying a lot. Today, I've been working quite a lot with my teachers, going over the mistakes that I've made. It's been very helpful. I'm looking forward to finals. I'm quite excited to write them, actually, and I'm not stressed about them at all.
I'm feeling very confident and prepared for the upcoming finals, mainly due to motivating myself throughout the last 9 months and constant collaboration with my teachers on getting better and improving my current marks.
Meanwhile, Gauteng Education MEC Matume Chilwane says over 192,000 candidates will study for the 2025 NSC exam in the province.
So far this year, I'm quite comfortable and confident that we should be able to do well, because based on our past performance and assessment of the previous years, this year's average from the first term, second term, and third term has been significantly better than these other years. But
for Channel Africa News, I am Tutongo Beni in Johannesburg.
Hi there. Do you want to elevate your business and give it a voice in South Africa and Africa as a whole? Well, in that case, let Channel Africa make this a possibility. Channel Africa is willing to advertise your business for as little as 30,000 rands or $1,719.18. To get access to these great rates, send all requests to mokoenata@SABC. That's MOKOENATA@SABC. Channel Africa, the African perspective. Africa Update with Lulu Gaboo on Channel Africa.
It is 12:56 Central African time, and we're coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa. Join us in conversation on our social media platforms. That's on X, Instagram, and subscribe on YouTube at Channel Africa 1, on Facebook at Channel Africa. You can also send us your comments and voice notes to +2763 at 406-9126. Hashtag Africa Updates, and let us know which country you're in. And if you have any stories that you'd like us to highlight or to focus on, send us an email. It is newsroom@channelafrica.co.za, or give us a call on +2711 714 4459. And on hashtag Africa Update, ask Madagascar's President Andry Rajoelina is expected to address the nation on Monday evening. His office announced on Facebook after officers supporting youth-led protests said they were in control of the African islands' paramilitary soldiers. Now, our question to you today is, what is your view on the current political situation in Madagascar? Share your thoughts and your views on all our social media platforms. That's on X, Instagram at Channel Africa 1, on Facebook at Channel Africa. You can also send us your comments and voice notes to +2763 at 406-9126. Hashtag Africa Update Asks. And it is that time of the day where we say a happy Monday to the Upside team. And it is Matseko today. Hello, how are you?
I am good. I am happy and healthy and eating sea moss. How are you?
Oh, wow. we want to live for a very long time. So anything that's healthy.
And we want to feel good and look good.
Feel good and look good, right?
Yes, Queen.
Yes. So, what's happening today?
Okay, so after the news bulletin coming through with the Upside, we're going to look at the South African Fraud Prevention Services. Mm-hmm. They've launched an awareness campaign to help consumers recognize scams. Okay. I think this is a very important conversation, considering that there's scams literally in every nook and cranny.
Yep.
So we're going to really unpack their approach to action and also how people can protect themselves. Okay. Also coming through, we're going to look at a brand new film, or rather series that's been on Netflix, and it's making a comeback. Blood and Water. I'm sure that sounds very familiar.
Do you know what? I feel like they take too long.
They
take too long. There was one I was watching the other day, actually a few weeks ago. I literally binged it in probably a day to 2 days.
It's always the case with the series.
It was so good, and I thought, they take too long to come back with these series, and I think they need to look at that.
Yeah, Blood and Water, I think it's been a little under 2 years.
Yeah.
If not longer. But yes, so we're going to look at that. The superstar, of course, is Amakamata, and we really are going to unpack what the next sequel, if I could call it that, is going to have in store for us. So that's just a few of what's going to take place, but do tune in between 1 and 4.
I love it, especially when they unearth young talent. It's beautiful to watch.
Always.
Yeah. That's The Upside coming up at the top of the hour with Matsiko Musito and Tebogo Likuleni. For myself, Lulu Gaboo, and the Africa Update team, it's been a good one. Continue with us on our socials. And thank you to our producer, Tracy Bumgard, our technical operator, Lerato Mjobile, and social media, Sfiso Sope, and Talent Butelezi. Let's do this again tomorrow. Bye-bye.